As usual, hi, my name is Shane. You, of course, have stumbled across the live stream of the Crafty Boys. This is episode 53 because we're really awesome at this. Um, my name is Shane. I'm in Vancouver, and there's a couple of other gents here who are going to tell you who they are and why the hell they're here and stuff like that.
I'm Alan. I'm on Vancouver Island on the southern tip, Victoria, and I'm here because Shane told me to be here. And if I wasn't here, he was going to kill my puppy. Um, it's a good puppy, and I would like it to live. So I'm here. So Shane, don't kill my puppy.
You will
Fair
live
enough.
this
Fair
week.
enough. I've met Alan's puppy just for our two listeners here, and it is a good puppy. So it would be a crying shame if Shane was to actually, axe the thing. So fair play, Alan. Fair play.
Yeah.
I'm Dave, and I'm, I'm at the midpoint on the island, I guess, roughly speaking, in Comox Valley.
And he's very excited to be here.
Yeah, clearly.
Bouncing off
Look at the
walls even.
expression on the face.
I know, he is just jazzed like there's no tomorrow. So yeah,
So,
you've,
I
as
have
I
to
said
ask.
earlier. Oh, sorry, what?
I have to ask a question of you guys.
Yeah, go
So we're only seen from like the chest up. Do you guys wear pants while doing this?
Most of the
I
time.
prefer not to.
You prefer not to. Okay. I
But
wear
it depends
pants.
on
I was just wondering, I mean, we could do this without wearing pants.
We totally could do. We're doing. I mean, you look at like background photos of like Knowlton Nash and uh, uh, Peter Mansbridge and those guys, and they generally are wearing in the summertime. They're wearing like shorts and things because they know they're only shot from the waist up, kind of thing. So they're wearing a suit, a tie, and a shirt. But the rest of them is like flip flops and whatever because they're just really sitting or standing or doing whatever, right? So.
I think we
Um,
should have a no pants episode.
all right, totally, we can do that. There is a vlogger out there that I watch once in a while, but she does this thing called the Naked Army, whose name escapes me at the moment. Dave, you might know who I'm talking about. She's the short girl.
Yeah,
Oh my lord, I can't remember her name. Anyway, she was on this show that on a different channel on YouTube somewhere, and called Dave Nerd something.
SourceFed.
What?
SourceFed.
SourceFed.
She,
Anyway, so
yeah,
she's the short girl, and she's
she's
was
Trisha
like covered
Hirschberg.
like sort of tech news and things like that. So she's nerdy. Anyway, so she was on the show for a while, then she left to pursue other stuff, and I lost track of her at that point because I didn't really care that she was leaving. I don't watch. Thing is, I didn't watch this show all that often. I can't remember her name right now, but I if I saw her face, I'd be like, that's that girl from that thing. Anyway,
Yes,
I did track her. Shut up. I did track her down a little while ago, sometime last year, and she started this thing called the Naked Army, which basically it's her. Supposedly she's naked, but anybody who she interviews on the show is also naked. So it's actually kind of a neat thing. I think it's kind of cool. I mean, you don't see anything. It's like here up sort of thing. Like you don't see, full on nudity. But I don't know. It is a neat idea because I think the idea is that you are vulnerable, much like this beer, the After Dark Organic Brown Ale from Nelson Brewing, is so vulnerable tonight that we are going to tear into these things. There's, Okay, I can't do it that way, but
You're not Teen Wolf.
I know that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, what was it? He was just like, and it,
And there's just sprays everywhere, right?
yeah. So anyway, I'm going to open this beer.
All right,
Because
I'm opening mine.
I just took it out of the fridge. It only comes in 6 packs. It doesn't come in anything bigger, or anything smaller for that matter. So the reason I wanted to try this is that a few weeks ago I was talking to Locke, who's sometimes on the show, and oh crap. So I just want to show you guys. This is what it looks like. It is a solid dark color.
Actually, it's not. If you put it up to light, it isn't.
It's very sort of. There we go. That's better. Here.
It's
There
a
you go. So
really
you can kind of
wicked-
see the color now. It's sort of a red, dark red. But we were talking about organic beers. That was the thing, because one of the things I've been concerned about for a long time is the explosion of craft breweries. And I think we talked about this not last week, the last time, but the time before that, about what sort of corners might be cut. Because we were talking about hops, that's what it was. And are there any things that are being cut? Like, because there's so much demand on hops because we've had a hop shortage at one point, or hop shortage. But we've had all kinds of things that, I don't get covered in the news all that often. So I got to wondering at some point about what is it that we're actually consuming, and some of the stuff we should probably cover in an entire episode because it's very interesting actually. But that aside, it got me thinking about organic beers and beers supposedly that are not going to, in theory, poison us. So I did a bit of looking around for organic beers a few weeks ago, and since it was my choice this year, I thought, you know what, I'm going to pick one of the organic ones that's from BC. And so hence Nelson Brewing Company, who of course are out of Nelson, BC. I know that I've had some of their beers. I've had like 2 or 3 of the kinds, but I've never had the After Dark organic or any of the organic stuff, which I was actually kind of surprised. I was looking at some of their other beers, and they are listed also as organic. So anyway, nice red dark color. I am now my head actually is still here.
Mine's kind of faded away.
Is it faded away? Mine, because you have a bigger open glass there. But
yeah.
Dave?
It's pretty much gone. But yeah, it's got a pretty reasonable.
Okay,
I've been drinking mine, and you've been yammering on, so.
Well, no one else is talking. Anyway. Burn. Actually, I'll let you guys talk. If you want to talk. You want to talk? You go ahead and talk!
What are we going to talk about?
Well, the interesting thing is I actually wanted to talk about this beer.
Wait a second.
But go ahead.
The After Dark. This is the first beer I've ever had from Nelson Brewing. And partially, it could be because it's in cans. Something about, buying a 6-pack of beer has kind of turned me off the past few years, where I've been sort of drawn to the single serve bomber bottles,
right,
for the beer that I buy. So when you suggested this beer, I was forced to look in the other area of the store where 6-packs are held, and came across this. So this is interesting, and I saw that there were some other varieties from Nelson Brewing. I like what it says here on the can. This easy drinking, delicious brown ale oozes with organic honesty. Delightful, devious, deep chocolate overtones highlight this legendary organic ale. Everybody looks better after dark.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Basically, you got your after dark goggles on. And...
Well, this one actually won an award a few years ago, and it was something that actually the one that I recognized was the first time I had one was the Full Nelson, which was a decent IPA. So I was looking around my silly microphone here, and the other thing that actually got me thinking about is you mentioned the face plant. Did you not, Alan? Did you not mention? Somebody mentioned the face plant winter ale at some point. Closer to the holidays, obviously, but because it also, I don't know. There's something about not poisoning myself which is really attractive right now.
Yeah, people don't like poison. Their bodies react poorly to it. Scientific studies have shown that people who ingest poison will die at some point.
Yes, yes, they will.
Yeah.
So, Alan, you brought a whole bunch of.
Well, you know what? I made some suggestions
Mhm.
for things that we can. Well, what does
Well,
Dave think about the beer? I haven't heard from Dave yet.
Oh, sorry, Dave.
Well, it was interesting. The first swig was super smooth, actually, but I don't know. I guess the hoppiness kind of kicks in a bit after you've had a couple.
Sorry, what did you say?
Hoppiness.
Sorry, I thought you said something totally different. Keep going.
Okay.
I get it. He didn't hear the hop part.
Aaron, hot. Hot penis. The hot penis really kicks in. Beg your pardon. That's the
Okay.
quality of this show, boys and girls. Sorry, the hot
You know
penis
what?
kicks in. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that, I mean, right off the bat, I taste. Right off the bat, I taste nuts.
Are they salty?
Wow. It's going to be that kind of night.
You know, I like it. I feel like it could be a little bit more flavorful. Do you guys get that? Like,
I don't
you know,
know.
we've had beers that have a little bit more to them, you know, in the taste department. This one tastes like a beer, but there's others that we've had that have had more to it. It just seems like this one's easy drinking and it's simple, and that's good.
Simple's actually a good way to describe it. It's not, they're not trying to uh, sell us hot sauce in a beer or donuts
No,
in a beer.
no.
It's like this is a dark, it is a brown ale, and guess what? It's organic. So
That's the big selling point is the organic quality of it.
yeah, so I'm hoping it's not killing us right now.
Well, does have alcohol in it, and alcohol is technically a poison.
I'm not going to bring up the article that came out the other day about how moderate drinking is bad for people.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're screwed. Um, I think right off the top, though, since we're talking about nuts and hot things, um, one of the articles you brought this week, Alan, is from the UK, from the Independent, which is a decent rag. But the interesting thing,
Oh, so we are going to talk about it.
I can't even get there. I can't even do it. Okay. It is
I'll let you run with it.
the
Shane.
world's first beer made from vaginal microbes. Uh,
Yeah.
yep. So there you go. It is beer. It's coming out of that whole thing where, as I was stating earlier about how I'm a little concerned about the explosion of breweries because in Vancouver there's 2 new ones coming out in the next little bit. But it's a company called BrewDog, is that right? Um, Launched its no label beer, and it's using vaginal microbes to make it a beer. Um, Guys, what do you think?
Well, it's from a group in Warsaw, Poland, and it's from a company called Bottled Instinct. They're I don't know how long their Indiegogo thing has been up for, but they have raised in the past 7 days a grand total of 134 euros out of their funding goal of 150,000 euros. So they're way off the mark. But it's interesting. Um,
Explore femininity in its purest form.
so I think this is more a PR stunt than anything else. But I guess what they're saying is that this beer will taste just like a woman's in other regions, and so you can have an experience femininity without actually having to be around a woman. And that's actually not a quote, but that is a paraphrasing of the actual way that they described it.
So, the financial goal is 150,000 euros
Yes.
over the next 24 days. It'll enable them to brew 6 batches of 16,600 bottles each. And I know right away that Dave will probably get at least one batch. Dave, what do you think?
Well, I think a whole batch might be just a little much for me. So I'm thinking more like a three-quarter batch, you know?
I gotta say, I am not bottled instinct as an idea, because here's the thing. This is the first beer they want to make, and I'm just gonna read you off the list. It's not just about one beer. Here is a list of the other beers that they want to make in this line. BDSM ale, sour ale made with smoked plums and vaginal lactic acid bacteria. Blonde ale made with wheat malt, saffron, and edible gold with vaginal lactic acid. Aphrodisia, a wheat ale with grape juice. The Mona Lisa, a brown sour ale with wood chips. Isis, the sour ancient wheat ale with roses. Milk stout, a Cleopatra, a milk stout regarding Cleopatra's milk baths. And Lady Godiva, a sour ale with English hops. They want to also do some based on anime. They want to do some based on other culture, such as art and supermodels. So there you go. What do you say about a stunt like this? I think that ultimately it'll fail miserably before they even get to the word go. But
I don't know, man. There's a lot of freaky deaky people out there.
And we're helping people learn about it. Stopping the stream! Stopping the stream! Delete! So I don't know. I just think it's kind of I don't know. It's very much a ridiculous idea, but who knows? Maybe it'll catch on. I don't know. Not that I think I would actually buy the beer.
You know what? I think I would. I'd try it.
Mm. I would try it. I mean, I don't want to try it for the obvious weird reason, but it's beer. At the end of the day,
it's beer, but you know what? I mean, it's so different. I'd have to try that.
Yeah. Okay, Dave, would you try it? A three-quarter batch worth?
Yeah, well, out of my three-quarter, I'd have to, try at least a sip or two, right? So.
I mean, let's point out that this is being brewed in Poland. I mean, it's never gonna be brought here.
Oh no! Come on! I gotta give it up for if Dave is gonna drink 9,485 bottles, of this beer. Yes, Dave, I did the math. It's a beer called Czechvar. Czechvar? I think it's Czechvar. I think. Of course, I'm brutalizing that pronunciation, but it is a beer that I've enjoyed for a long time, and it's made out of Poland, I gather. Um, the last state-run brewery in Europe, supposedly. So, and it's good beer. It's a good one. Um,
Hmm.
so anyway, back to what we were talking about.
Well, just a second. Let's break for a second to
Sure.
welcome Locke to the podcast.
Holy crap, Locke!
Hey, Locke!
Locke, you appear to be in
For a
Toronto.
long time, dude. What's up?
We can't hear you, man. Turn on
Locke,
your
you have no
microphone.
audio. Turn up your hearing aid, man. Uh-oh,
Uh-oh.
he's looking confused. Now he's looking around.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll continue on while Locke sorts out his technical issues.
So, Locke, this is, by the way, just to share the link with you in the Brack channel here. That's what we were talking about just a moment ago. So follow along. We're going to move on to the Ladies Only Beer Fest, which I'm kind of excited about.
Even though you can't go.
I can't go, no, that's true. But here's the thing. Over the last few weeks, I've gone to a few events regarding nouveau feminism and these kinds of things, which I'm really enjoying because as a dude in this day and age, you get to an age where you just don't care anymore. And so when people decide that having strong women is a good idea, I'm all for that. Especially since I'm a huge fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is where all of this stems from, I'm sure. So anyway, the point is, this Ladies Only Beer Fest, which, by the way, I love the name, the Society of Beer Drinking Ladies. I think it's very cool. I think it's actually quite amazing, and I'm all for it. I think that more of this will probably start at some point because I know a lot of women who drink beer. So
Oh, same. Well, it's like when we go to Beer Fest in September. There's tons of women there. So many women.
we've lost Alan, boys and girls. No, I just think it's a good idea because I'm also a video game player, or a gamer, as they're called. And it's gone through some growing pains lately in the past couple of years with things like Gamergate and whatnot, where women were basically hunted and stalked because they declared themselves to being gamers, and there were a lot of male players that didn't like that idea. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but I don't know. I just as a guy, every so often you just really feel you suffer that pang of guilt somewhat. That yeah, I've had a privileged life. I'm a guy. I've got a penis, and therefore I might get paid more than someone who's as talented as I am. So I don't know. It just in the back, it just browsed around the back of the mind. So when I saw this article, I thought that's a really good idea, and I think Dave should attend. Dave, our roving reporter, at a female-only event.
So, for anybody who, if we have any women watching the show, which I can guarantee you there isn't, but if we did, it's in at Evergreen Brickworks, which I take it is in Toronto.
Yeah.
Lockhart, nod if that's the case. No, nod. We can't hear you. Yeah. Okay. It's in Toronto. Thanks, R2.
Oh.
Wow. So I don't know. I just think it's kind of interesting just how to what do they call it? They're holding a monthly event called a bevy, and that's been going for a while, which I think is actually astounding as well because.
And the cool thing is, they say they've already sold 700 tickets for this event.
This is the first time this event has gone on, so it's actually or is going to happen. So I don't know. I just think it's
that's pretty. I mean, that's sizable. That's.
And I get this is actually the part that really kind of struck me is at the end where it talks about or very briefly it talks about how they've had some flack about being called sexist for not allowing men. And you know what? Come here, dudes. Come here. We're gonna have a talk. All right, dudes. From the dawn of time, we've had it pretty good. We've had a good run. And you know what? Women have the vote now. They've had it for a long
What?
time. I know.
No.
It's surprising. And also, the people on this planet, most of them, think it's a bad idea to repress anyone based on race or gender. So, get over it. Get over it. Nothing bad is going to happen from an event that doesn't allow guys. Okay? You know what? I bet you if you look at the newspaper, you're going to find a lot of events that feature a lack of male representation, or whatever you want to call it. So, I'm sorry. I want to just tell you guys, get over it. Thanks. Anyway, so there you go, boys and girls. It's time to get over that kind of stuff. Of course, easier said than done.
I don't think it'll ever be, done. You know what I'm saying?
No, it won't. It's human nature. It is how people are built, and a lot of us will have ridiculous ideas from time to time. I'm sure I have ridiculous ideas, like, I'm a god! Worship me! Okay. Actually, it was kind
But
of
the
interesting.
thing is that people do worship you, right?
Do they? Oh, thank God.
Yeah, I think so. You're not a god.
But God's a busy man. Actually, this is completely as an aside, but it is somewhat connected. I have a friend in India who I was talking to a couple days ago, and he said, "Oh, Shane, I haven't talked to you in a while. Yeah, no, we had this festival and that festival and all these sorts of events going on." And then I said, "Oh yeah, that's cool." Then I threw at him a couple of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom quotes, which he laughed. But then he said, "Yeah, no, actually, you realize that the reason these stupid cows are running around, because the conversation started where a cow ran over his nephew, but you can't reprimand a cow for running into you. You can't reprimand a cow for anything because they're sacred." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting." And he goes, "That's too bad." And he's like, "Yeah, just because one dude at some point drew one deity as the version as a cow, and now 1,000 years later, cows are like this stupid, idiotic animal we have to worship." I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you talk to your parents like that?" "No." Okay. Anyway, it's kind of amusing. Anyway, just kind of his attitude was, "Get over it already." The cows are crapping in the streets. So there you go. Let's move on to another, because I actually want to hear. I would love to hear Locke's interpretation of this thing, but his microphone, again. I don't know, man. Fix your crap, man.
On mute?
Maybe his microphone's on mute. I don't know.
Microphone on mute?
It is possible. He is traveling around. So he's running out. Oppress everyone equally. Exactly. That's exactly what should happen. But there's a new beer being released by a brewery called Dock Street out of Philadelphia, who have created an anti-Trump beer. And of course, Trump has popped up in the news again in the last couple of days because people are challenging him. Well, he did. Well, to me, he did, because I ignore it. But I couldn't ignore this, where he was being actively challenged by an interviewer and a couple of other people on his. He was saying that he wants to ban abortions and he wants women to go to jail for, which is what he said on camera, for having abortions.
He says a lot of things.
Yeah, well, exactly, and anyway,
including how he wants to build a wall between Canada and the U.S. and he wants
wants a wall to be built and everyone else to pay for it, which is a ridiculous idea. But again, this is actually why this is funny, because a few weeks ago, the comedian John Oliver, who runs a program called Last Week Tonight, I think, um, did a thing called Friends Don't Let Friends Vote Drumpf, because I gather that was Trump's original last name, or at least his family name until it was changed at some point in the past by his grandfather or something. So anyway,
Back then we were known as the Von Brauns. Sorry.
you know what's really funny? That's exactly what I was thinking when I heard that. And as soon as I was saying it, but anyway, yeah. So I don't know. It's just this. I mean, I support people in protesting in all kinds of ways, especially when you're brewing a beer, because hey, why not? I hope it's good beer. Um,
But this is weird sort of marketing. I mean, it's just a beer, right? So what they're doing is they're using the negative backlash on Trump's campaign or whatever to sell their beer. This beer wouldn't have gotten this press otherwise, right?
yeah.
It's just a beer. So now people are going to buy this beer who are against Trump. But it doesn't actually do anything.
Well, most protests don't really do a whole lot, as much as people would like to say they do. It might raise some awareness, which is, I think, is sort of the main goal of most things. But I think protests ultimately don't change the things they're protesting directly, unless, of course, you're a brown coat and a university professor posts something on his door of his office talking about how Malcolm Reynolds won't kill anybody unless they try and kill you and you have to kill him right back. But
Yeah.
that
That's what I
situation
was
was probably.
thinking.
Hmm?
That's what I was thinking, totally.
Yeah, well, totally. So anyway, the whole point of that little anecdote is that uh, once it got out into the Firefly sort of fandom, um, it made a university change its attitude towards how it deals with that kind of thing. So because it was considered hate speech or something. Anyway, um, so
So
I don't know.
before we go on to anything else here, and we didn't talk about this beforehand, but since we were talking about a little bit about Indiana Jones, so they've announced that there's going to be Indiana Jones 5.
Yes.
How do we feel?
I am stoked and excited for this because George Lucas, as much as I love the man, is not involved.
Not
Um,
involved.
because I recently watched a video on YouTube
You can
of
watch
an
videos on
interview.
YouTube
I
now?
know, it's a surprising thing. Um, a video of Spielberg talking to some interviewer, which is look, I think it was just a typical movie junket. Um, about a completely unrelated film, and they asked him about that film. And I don't know. I think he had a weak moment. He was actually sort of talking about something else, and he just had his guard was down. And he basically in 3 sentences or so, he basically leveled uh, a, a shotgun and fired at George Lucas, blaming him for the
Really?
entire Indiana Jones thing. Which was surprising because usually it's like, oh well, that's a story that we decided to go with, and blah 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 blah. No, this was like, well, George was involved and he was an inflexible jackass, and he really wanted that story told, so we did it. I hated it. Most people hated it. The people that wrote the screenplay hated it, and we thought it was dumb. But he had the money, so that's why we did it. And that's basically what he said. Like, even he didn't say it quite that directly, but that's what he said. So, yeah. So this is why I'm excited because I mean, look at what happened to Star Wars when it came out. It
Yeah.
was not a perfect film. It was basically trying to recreate the magic of the first film. Did they do that? I don't know if they did 100% successfully. They didn't hit all the beats, but I give it up to them for trying and not doing episode. What are they called? I've forgotten already. Those other films. Which there's some great moments in those other films. I'll give them that. Especially the third one is probably is obviously the best of those three. But
Mm-hmm.
but there's definitely not going to be, I hope, that some of the magic from the episode 7 is going to kind of bounce off and do an Indiana Jones 5. And I really hope that they do pass the torch to somebody else, because I think that the serialized adventure stories of yesteryear, which is what Indiana Jones is sort of built from, um, you don't see those anymore at all, really. You don't have like there's been attempts at doing it. I've recently just watched back to back the National Treasure Nicolas Cage
Yeah.
films. They're okay. They're not amazing, but they're definitely in that realm. They're definitely headed towards trying to be an Indiana Jones type of film.
I
But
think the Mummy with Brendan Fraser is more closely
which I haven't seen. I have not seen any of those films.
there.
Mainly
It's
because
very Indiana Jones-ish.
I recognized it when the third one came out, the Scorpion King or whatever, and that just
Yeah.
looked awful. So maybe
Yeah.
I should
Even
go and
Lockhart
watch
says
them.
that one stunk.
Locke's waving his finger.
Yeah.
Hey, do you guys remember the old show Tales of the Golden Monkey, I think it was called?
Yes,
Yes,
I loved
yes.
that show. I did.
Totally.
And the other show that actually
God,
kind of
Indiana Jones.
didn't really come that close, but it was in the right direction, was that Relic Hunter with Tia Carrera. I think it's
Oh
called
yeah.
Relic Hunter. Yeah,
Oh,
and it was.
yeah.
I watched a few episodes of that over the years, like not when they were on in repeats, but they definitely. I mean, it's definitely trying to be a pure adventure story, because that's the thing about all of these things that we see, that those kinds of stories, the whip and gun-toting archaeologist, those are the sort of they just boil them down to the very basics, which is why that fourth piece of crap didn't do that, because they were trying to do it like a more modern film, which is where the charm was. Um,
And I will say this: the fourth film I actually liked better than most people. I thought it was very good up until the whole alien thing at the end. Um, that's where it lost it for me.
yeah.
But sorry, what was Lockhart saying? I
Sorry,
saw
Locke,
him
go ahead. A la.
Alan Quartermain.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
Alan
Lost in the Vault.
Quartermain.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. Oh my God, that's going back.
Well, you know what? I mean, Indiana Jones spawned like this whole return to the adventure movie. Yeah, I'm thinking of oh my, what's that one with that guy?
You're talking like me now. What's that thing with that dude did that stuff with on that
No,
time?
it's like
Remember?
a cult classic now. With the guy who goes to China. He's in the Escape from L.A.
Snake Plissken?
No.
Kurt Russell?
Snake Plissken?
That's the character in that film.
Oh yeah. But I mean the actor.
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell. Yeah.
Little
So it's got Kurt
Trouble in
Russell in
Little,
it.
Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes.
Okay.
Big Trouble in Little China.
Which is one of the best exploding death scenes in film.
Yes.
The character basically kills himself because of frustration.
Lockhart's writing something.
Nope. Locke's writing. Okay.
Carpenter rules.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
John Carpenter, he certainly does.
Wow. So anyway,
I'm looking forward to the new Indiana Jones movie.
I as well, because they actually have like the year it's going to come out, which is what 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
If you're looking for them to pass the torch, though, I think you'll be disappointed. As I've heard in an interview with Steven Spielberg, that Indiana Jones will be played by Harrison Ford or nobody.
Yeah. Okay. However,
which is disappointing, because I've always felt that Indiana Jones could do with the James Bond effect, where you use different actors to portray the same character, and you could have like an endless number of stories that take place over, at the same time, right? Now,
Well,
Lockhart was just showing up his beer. It
oh,
looks like
sorry,
it's
beer. Sorry,
666
beer.
from Iron Maiden.
You got the Trooper? Oh, kick ass! That's awesome.
Well, it's not the Trooper, it's the 666.
Oh, is it different? Oh, okay, sorry. Oh, there. Okay, now I see the 66. Oh, sweet. That's awesome.
That's really cool. I have not seen that here in
I have
BC
not seen
yet.
that either in this fair town. Because I've actually looked for a lot of that stuff. To
So
finish,
what's
sorry,
the
I'm just
what's
gonna.
the
I just want to
alcohol
finish
volume?
my thought here for a second. Sean Patrick Flannery,
Oh
who
yeah,
played
yeah.
the young Indiana Jones. If somebody were to pass the torch to another actor, that to me would be the guy to do it because he's already done it.
Yeah.
He's already played that character, as from was this be like 1819 to 25 or something.
Yeah.
So, which is really kind of interesting because I just saw a little while ago that he's actually 50 years old now, which to me
Really?
is the perfect age for him to take the mantle, right? So, 50,
50?
55,
Really?
Patrick Flannery. Oh yeah,
My
he's
God.
older than we are, yeah. So,
Jesus.
yeah, so I think it actually, if anybody should get the torch, it would be him because to me he has already earned, he's already paid his dues, he's already
What
earned that
about the
right.
kid that
So,
played Indiana Jones when he was like 5 or 6 or whatever?
I don't think he's an actor at all. But
No.
again, Young Indiana Jones is kind of interesting because Young Indiana Jones was in the process of about 10 years ago of recutting and re-releasing all of their stuff on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Or they were going to. And I don't know if it ever happened because apparently the thing that I read, and this is I'm going back 10 years, um, there was something about they wanted to recut some of the episodes uh, by filming that actor as an adult and then somehow making him shrink or something. I don't know. It was very strange.
What?
Um, there's some continuity problem, I guess. There's sort of at that time it halted the process.
Mm.
So, but again, I would love to watch that entire series again because they have
They're
never
on
released.
YouTube.
Are they on YouTube? Because well, here's the thing, they never released them officially as like a series, like season 1, 2, 3, or whatever, however many seasons it was. Um, because it did have a spotty release, they had some issues with that, but they actually they've taken 2 episodes and spliced them together and then given them like an overall title, like Indiana Jones and the, whatever, the
Yeah.
scary dude on the boat. So whatever it might be, right? That is the worst
Scary
title I've
dude
ever
on
come
the-
up with. Scary. Get
Um,
off my
yeah,
lawn.
they're,
Um.
they're on YouTube. I actually tried showing them to my kids,
Oh, really?
and
Yeah.
they lost interest in them. Like they like the Indiana Jones movies, but they lost interest in the Young Indiana Jones episodes fairly quickly. They're very talky and not a lot of action.
Yeah. Well, that's also, I mean, here it is. So this is actually the official stuff. So this is it. It was released as 2 seasons, and then it had a couple of TV films. Um, and so roughly about 24 episodes, give or take.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I like it. So anyway, but of course we also had the Mystery of the Blues, which was chapter 20 of that show. They get to put them in chapters. So episode 20, and that was the one that Indiana Jones. It actually the episode opened with um, Harrison Ford being
Yeah.
chased through a snow
Yeah.
area of like above the mountains or something, and then he stops and he stops in a cabin and he finds a saxophone. And he goes like, "Oh yeah, I remember going to school back in the 20s in Chicago." So anyway, it was kind of cool. I enjoyed those immensely when they were on, and I did actually buy a bunch of VHS tapes that had them as they were releasing them, but then that stopped. So actually, I think those were my first purchases off of Amazon. So anyway, apparently Trump to Indiana Jones, and then of course the last story for the day um, is probably the most bizarre thing I've heard in a while. But a man rented a VHS copy of the Tom Green film Freddy Got Fingered, which, by the way, I have never seen.
No, me neither.
So, anyway, so I gather, uh, well, he essentially was gonna go to jail for not paying the fine on this VHS tape that he rented
In
15 years ago.
2001. 2001, he didn't return it, and so I guess the video store, which has since closed, like all the other video stores, um, filed a thing with the police in 2002, and when he got pulled over, they said, "Well, we have a warrant for your arrest for from 2002 for a VHS video that you didn't return in 2001."
Wow.
Should that be the case? Like, okay, Lockhart, I would love to hear Locke's input on this because he is
He's
actually
actively writing.
he's gone to legal school, but should years after the fact, I mean, the video was probably worth no more than $30 at the time.
Grand Theft videotape.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, this even back then, even in 2001 or 2002 or whatever it was, even if he had been arrested back then, I mean, the video's worth no more than $30.
Well,
would
the
imagine.
best, I guess, the best part about this whole story is that Tom Green himself, a few days ago, said that he would assist this guy because
And
he
pay the
couldn't
fines.
believe it actually had happened, that somebody had been arrested over this, which is ridiculous. Because I honestly, I don't
And
know.
I want to say this, according to the article, the cop even felt a bit embarrassed by doing it. You know, he ran the guy's license, and the warrant came up. I mean, the guy's got to do his job, right? He's like, look, I don't know what to tell you, dude, but I got a warrant for your arrest here from like eons ago because you didn't return a VHS video to a video store that is closed years ago.
But the best, I mean, who gets an arrest warrant for, like, who does
Not
that
returning a
for
video.
videotape? I don't know. I've
This
never
is in
heard of that
North
before, and that
Carolina.
just seems so absurd. But again, it is North Carolina.
I mean, they're probably still like, he's probably lucky they're not going to cut off his hands or something. I mean,
They're gonna cut off his hand. Yeah, sir, you haven't provided a payment for
he,
this
did, he
thing.
probably didn't rewind it
So-
either.
I would be surprised if he even had the damn thing. And actually,
Probably not.
just 2 days ago, and don't cry when I tell you this, Sony stopped making the beta tape.
Just 2 days.
It's official. The beta
Really?
format is now officially dead. So all
They kept it
hail
going until
VHS.
2 days ago?
Apparently the factory
You sure it
started
wasn't
winding
20 years
down.
and 2 days ago?
No, the factory started running down, or started its final batch of tapes on March 1st, and then a couple days ago, they said, okay, well, that batch is done. We've made all the ones in that run, so we're done. Thank you so much. Enjoy your beta. But again, yeah, I mean, I thought, really, they still, what? Are you kidding? They still
Well,
make
you know what?
VHS?
Beta was actually a very high quality platform, and it was used in a lot of broadcast applications. So I could see
True,
like some
true.
small television stations would, like, small independent ones. Pro what?
What did you say?
Locke? Proform?
Proform.
Pro format. Yeah.
Yeah. I can see some small television stations that maybe don't have a lot of money to upgrade to digital technology would still be using the beta tapes.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, I gotta say, I'm surprised they were still making them at all. There's also, I mean, cassette tapes stopped being made about 5, 6 years ago. VHS tapes only a few years ago. Um,
It's
yeah,
sad,
so
isn't it?
it is kind of
I
sad
mean,
because it points out that it is really the end of the physical thing because DVDs and Blu-rays. I mean, most people will tell you if you ask them if they know anything about what's going on, that that'll probably be the final physical thing that you can buy for if you wanted a copy of a film that you really enjoyed that you won't be able to do it. It'll be entirely either
but you know, I
streaming.
like having something physical that I can actually hold
There
in
are,
my
I mean,
hand that
there
I
are
don't have to pay a
definitely. Yeah.
subscription for.
Well, that's the thing is that if you well, there's a balance. There's the Netflix mode, which you can also do with Google Play or iTunes or whatever. But you can also do the outright purchase where you actually download a file and you have that instead. So, but again, I guess one of the things that I think is really sad about not about the beta thing, but about this whole transition from physical to entirely
Yeah.
virtual stuff is cover art, like
Yeah.
liner notes, things like that that you can actually open up. Because I remember even buying CDs, going, oh yeah, oh cool, that's a great story about
And
how they made this
you would
album, or
unfold the
yeah.
card and everything. You got like pages and pages worth of stuff.
Yeah, I mean that stuff. That I don't know. I think that's going. I hope that doesn't disappear, but it definitely could.
I think it
And I
will.
and I think that
If it
it's
doesn't
not.
disappear, it'll at least be heavily reduced. And Lockhart's writing again.
But I think that
Oh no, he's not. Maybe.
the what is it the resurgence, as it's called, of vinyl, which really isn't a resurgence. It's just that some companies decided to do that. But um, I mean, I think you know what?
We actually
Honestly, I
have
think I should
in
get a
Victoria,
vinyl
we
player.
have a record store downtown who actually specializes in selling vinyl, used and new. And
Who?
I
What are
know
they called?
somebody who it has a she actually bought a record player secondhand, and she's buying vinyl like records
I've
again.
actually been thinking about getting a player for vinyl because I think that it is it. I mean, I'm not an audiophile per se, but I know that there's definitely some uh, benefits from vinyl just because
Yeah.
it is because of the fact that it has a physical needle in on a record. There's just something about that to me is important. Um, because in an entirely virtual world, we're really going to lose a lot. And I think that that's kind of sad. Like I still, I mean, hell, look at my bookshelf. I still want
Yeah.
physical books. I've tried to read digital books. I've tried to, but I think, or so I've tried to do that. But I think that the only way I've really been able to go into the digital realm is if somebody's reading to me. So I have an audio book
What's
thing.
Lockhart holding up?
Oh, did I just hear Locke?
Is that a laser disc?
No. That's Locke's band. Um, which I have a copy of actually over on my record or over on my stereo.
Ooh.
It's called the Locke. You got to write the name because I keep screwing that up.
He's writing the name.
He's
He's
writing the
writing,
name. The
ladies and
band name
gentlemen.
is amazing. Um, but he played it for me a little while ago because he had some stuff on his stereo in his car, um, which I hadn't. Because here's the thing, they put out this album and I got a copy of it. Yeah, there we go. The Martin Fulton Overkill. Um,
Nice.
So, but yeah, it was fascinating because I have this record that I've never been able to listen to, and to actually finally hear it when he played it to me in his car was actually very cool because I have wanted to hear this damn album for so long. But it was actually a couple of months ago where a friend of mine in just outside of Toronto in Locke. What's Toronto's here? What's up here in Toronto? Scarborough. He lives in Scarborough, and he's getting into retirement age. He's getting close to being retired. But then one of the things he did is that his wife said, you have that basement that you barely use for anything, so why don't you make it a man cave? Like, make it something your own. So he actually went out and bought some record players, actually bought some vinyl players, and he does a podcast where he's done a few episodes where he basically sat down, put a microphone in front of him, sat down, and then started playing records. And he played and he talked throughout the entire an entire album, I think, almost. Um, But he was playing Bob Dylan. He was playing sort of a lot of the sort of that era of music, and it was amazing. And he was commenting about how he relates differently because there's that moment where instead of hitting a play button, instead of actually just going and clicking on something, you have to take the record out of the sleeve, you have to put the record on the player, you have to put the needle on, there's almost a ritual to it, which gets you in a different mindset of actually being able to sit down and just listen to the music rather than listening to it while doing something else, or listening to it and you're cleaning your house or you're doing work or whatever. Because he said part of the thing that really attracted me to the idea of getting a record player was he was able to sit, and he has a cat, so he sat. The cat was like, "I'm going to lay in your lap now," and it was actually a moment where he could sit for just an hour listening to music that he liked while just sitting, not doing anything else. And the cat, of course, was wild about this idea. So I don't know. I think there's something about that is attractive to do that. And you know what? Screw these people for wanting to arrest a man for renting a damn film.
Yeah. Screw the man.
Screw the. They should find out whoever this rental store owner was and track him down and beat him with a hammer. Because it's the only solution is absolute violence.
Sack of doorknobs.
Yeah. A sock full of quarters. Wow.
Yay.
So we made it through the articles
justice.
this week. Vigilante justice, the only way. Somebody get a phone number for. Oh wait, never mind. He's dead. From Death Wish. Yeah.
Bronson Pinchot.
Charles
Bronson.
Charles Bronson. Although, I gotta say, a Pinchot would be kind of amazing. We're gonna reboot the Death Wish series. You interested? But you have to be Balky from that show. So anyway, I think that's all the time we have this week because I'm totally lost now. We started talking about Indiana Jones out of the blue, which, by the way, brilliant, Alan. So actually, here's a good question. Would you want Marion Ravenwood to be in this film?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess if they're married, I guess she kind of has to be. But you know what? You know what would be almost awesome if Indiana Jones, I guess he wouldn't have a cell phone or anything. But if she's like constantly bickering at him to pick up milk and butter and eggs from the store while he's out, he's being run away, but he's being chased by like Aztecs or something, and he's in like a life or death struggle. And Marion Ravenwood phones him up and is like, "Hey, Indy, pick up milk. We're out of milk."
Well, we're gonna hear about Indiana Jones and the adventure to the supermarket on July 19th, 2019. Indiana Jones and Walmart. Not the greatest title, but I'm sure they're working on it. So, Dave, when people are not looking up the Crafty Boys, wanting to know all kinds of amazing information about pop culture and beer, where can they find you, sir?
Where could they find me? Well, if they're so inclined, they could try and find me on the Twitters. I sort of have something there, sort of.
Very good.
It's kind of a weird name. It's the Pool, spelled Phule.
Very cool. And Locke, I'll give you a moment to write down your Twitter your Twitter handle on a piece of paper. And Alan, I'm going to jump to you for a moment. When people are not looking for the Crafty Boys, they want to look for you, just you.
Just me personally?
Where do they find you?
Well, usually in the drunk tank. But if they're on the internet, that might be hard to do. So they could go on Twitter and go to Alan M. Ford with the @ thing in front of it.
That's right. And M stands for merciful.
Yes. Or magnificent.
Or magnificent. All right, Locke, you got a piece of paper there with your Twitter handle on it?
He doesn't
No,
care.
he's not doing it.
No, all right then. Locke is
At this point, I would like to thank our own mime for
Locke
joining
for
in on
showing
the
up.
podcast. Wave to the people, Locke.
Locke is currently in back east doing some work stuff and drinking beer. Locke, are you in Toronto right now? Is that where you are? Okay, cool. So you've been wandering around the backwoods and stuff like that for the past couple of weeks?
Let's have him give us a thumbs up or thumbs down for his beer, which is the Iron Maiden.
Oh, yeah, the Iron Maiden beer. Thumbs up? Sweet.
Thumbs up? Excellent.
That is awesome. All right,
and
well,
we
of course.
Give thumbs up to the Nelson After Dark, right?
We have, yes. This one?
Yeah.
So we've been drinking the Nelson Brewing Company's After Dark Organic Brown Ale. It is a very tasty beer. And
it's organic.
And it's organic, so...
Except for the alcohol.
So in theory, we won't die as quickly. Next week, we're going to talk, I think, a little bit about the moderation beer drinking might kill us anyway. Or not, because I don't care. Thank you again, guys, for coming out. And, of course, if you're looking for the Crafty Boys, you go to thecraftyboys.ca or at the Crafty Boys on Twitter. And, of
moderation sucks.
This channel right here on YouTube. And, yeah, moderation sucks. And thank you again, guys, for showing up. And, again, another shout-out to Locke. Thank you again, dude, because I know you're on the road, and I don't know what the hell is wrong with your microphone, but we'll fix it next time. So thank you again, and see you next week.